Here.
You know what it is. You know the vibes. Hi. How's everyone doing? First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for being here today. As you know, this is the first ever live show of Black Men Cry Too. And as many of you should know or tell by now, especially if you know me or if you don't know me, I am nervous as hell up here. And I wanted to sit over there. Max like, no, you gotta sit in the middle.
She is not allowed to shrink whatsoever. You're in the spotlight now. Let's go.
I did say this year I have to stop living like a hypocrite. And in stopping living like a hypocrite, it means I have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Y'all ready to be uncomfortable? Yeah, because y'all going to be uncomfortable with us. We're not talking to y'all. We're all talking together. This is a community conversation. So with that, has anyone ever watched an episode of BlackMenCryToo? How do we start the show? Everyone raise your glass. This is to you. This is to us. This is to the culture. This is to Black excellence.
Woo! And mental health month too.
Yes. Mental health awareness month.
Let's go.
We just strong.
Yep.
I missed that shot. Can we do another one?
Go by yourself.
Tell me you got a drinking problem without telling me. You want to step into my office, sir?
Drinking has a problem with me.
I like that. It's the reframing. I love a reframe.
You reframe the mindset.
That's interesting because I've heard a defense mechanism.
Now we getting clinical now. Damn.
So before we get into it, Mac, can you please introduce yourself and tell us why you're throwing these clinical jargons at us?
Oh, yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I am very nervous. I don't do much public speaking, believe it or not. My name is Mac. I am a licensed mental health counselor with a specialization in couples therapy. I am the owner of Therapies for Everyone, which is a private practice dedicated to serving Black couples and the community of color. I am also the resident therapist of BlackMenCryToo. So I'm very fond of that title, and I look forward to an uncomfortable but healthy and healing conversation tonight.
And Josh.
What's happening? Everybody okay? Beautiful. For some reason, I'm not nervous. Maybe it's because I have some liquor. Maybe it's because I'm not nervous, but it's okay. So my name is Josh Odom. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I am the founder and lead executive of Healing While Black LLC. Healing While Black is an online platform dedicated to the mental health and wellness of Black, queer, trans, and non-conforming people. I am also a justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion specialist for B-Lab, so I get paid to tell white folks how they fucking up all day long. So, this ain't nothing. We cool now. So we are having a good time. We are here. I'm happy to be here.
Ready to kick it off?
You have to introduce yourself as well.
Hey, come on now.
Here we go. Hi, y'all. Hey. I'm Kat, a.k.a. Retro Barbie. And I am the founder of #BlackMenCryToo.
Yeah.
Good?
What else?
Oh, yeah.
What else?
What else do you do?
I guess I bartend sometimes. I guess I manage dope talent like Max sitting next to me. I guess I sometimes curate some events. I guess I sometimes do branding and content curation. I guess I sometimes do a lot. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Well, to take it on a serious note and to kick it off, whoever wants to answer first, can you tell us the first time you were comfortable being uncomfortable?
Oh, man.
Don't think y'all are ducking from this question either. Yeah.
She did not give us prep questions. Everything we're reacting to currently, which is not fair. But something drastic comes to mind. I was in grad school, being a therapist, and I signed up for my internship. First day, I was wearing jeans, t-shirt, a blazer, and etc. And I walk in, and this white female therapist, once I introduced myself, was like, "Wow, you dress nice for a black guy." That was my first 3 seconds through the door of my internship site. 5 years later, she works for me.
Hey!
And that's what we call coming around full circle.
Full circle.
Always come around. The first time I felt comfortable being uncomfortable was it was in a situation similar to this, in which we were having a conversation around like Black mental wellness. This was in 2013, so the conversation, the collective conversation, was beginning to shift toward normalizing, but there was still a lot of stigma. There's still a lot of pushback, and we all sat in a room for like 30 minutes, and about 28 of those minutes was very awkward, was very tense, because folks were having conversations about their lived experiences with depression, with anxiety, and we all made it out okay. We all came through that conversation, were uncomfortable, but we were together and sitting through it, and we all came out with a better understanding of how we relate to each other and also how we relate to our own mental health. I think that was my first time.
And if I can add to that real quick, right? So the self-help culture has created this idea that we're always supposed to be happy. It's all good vibes. But in reality, we need to start feeling our emotions. There's a lot we can learn when we're feeling depressed, when we're feeling anxious, and we take the time to kind of sit and actually feel that and process that and make sense of it, because that will equip us with the knowledge, the skills, and the needed attitude to eventually come out of that and come full circle. So what you guys did was excellent.
So what would you tell someone if they're feeling uncomfortable in a situation, or if they're feeling uncomfortable with themselves in a certain aspect of their life? Like, I'm not comfortable looking at myself in the mirror. I'm not comfortable where I am in life. What are some tools and resources that someone who is feeling those type of feelings when you're feeling stuck?
That's a great question. I wish I had time to prepare. I would say that the first thing that we recommend is to label your feelings. Put words to it. When I'm actually doing therapy with most men, right, by like session 3, they're crying. Because it's the first time where I'm challenging them to actually name their emotions. And it's also their first time where I'm coaching their partner to respond to these emotions in a positive manner. Right? We continuously say that we want men to be vulnerable. We want them to be honest and know their emotions. But a lot of us are not ready or don't know how to deal with an emotional man. When your partner comes home crying and they're going through depression and these type of things, right? Do you have the mindset and the knowledge to sit with them and help them through that process? To sit in silence and hold them and be present and not say, yo, men don't cry, right? So it's all about first labeling it so you can understand what you're going through, and then allowing that process to take place. You can't cheat the process. You gotta trust the process.
Can I interject really quickly? Can any of you reflect on a moment where your partner was like, just broke down, had a mental break, or just had a breakdown moment? Do you recall being equipped to be there and be supportive of your partner and actually understand what they're going through? Or did you take it as like, this is a dramatic moment and I don't know how to deal with this? I'm asking y'all.
Yeah.
When was that? If you don't mind sharing,
No, I don't mind.
This is a safe space.
Correct. Disclaimer, safe space.
Probably, I want to say during the pandemic, my girlfriend, like her job, she goes into work one day, and she like somebody just randomly assaulted her, and it was at nighttime, and I had to be there, and then 2 days later, her cousin died in the house. So I'm not like death is weird for me on the personal level, but I also had to understand there's two different pains going on. There's a physical one from the world and then an eternal one from the family. So I had to be there to also understand where I had to be and how to be strong for her, because she's not able to do it. I can't tell her how to handle grief or how to handle pain in a different level. So I had to understand the role of just being that support system for her to cry, for her to just vent to, and then also just to kind of give her comfort with any way she needed at that point.
I salute you, brother. Can we clap for him, please?
A supportive king. We love to see it.
Support Black women.
As you pop up on the screen.
Now, Josh,
Some nice blazer, man.
Thanks,
do you mind if we get personal for a moment?
Sure.
So if anyone recalls a topic that we talked about in our episode, disclaimer, it was a heavy topic, and this month being Mental Health Awareness Month and it being May isn't coincidental, and trusting the process. The lesson I've been learning recently is just surrendering to the universe and accepting that nothing is coincidental, everything is universal. And with that in reflection, this month as well is a heavy month for me for multiple reasons. This month is an anniversary of a best friend of mine who committed suicide. And he was the first taste of mental health when it comes to men of color. He was my best friend. We were 14 at the time. And this has been 16 years later, and I'm still making connections on the impact he has on my life. This month also is Mother's Day. And for those of you who also know me, as well as a few others in this room as well, I lost my mother last year. And this is something that I'm still working through as well. And I'm very blessed that a mother in this crowd gave me flowers today, which is why I have it up here to be in honor and remembrance of my mother as well. But going back to the friend that I did lose 16 years ago, Josh, you also had a moment of feeling like I can't continue anymore, and it was due to a lack of support. So in times where people feel like they can't have a voice or they're not being heard, like, in what ways can we be supportive or articulate how we actually need to be supported in our hard times?
So, it's a couple things, right? Now, first of all, there were moments, right? And that's something that we, again, getting better at collectively as a community, talking about suicidal ideations among Black folks, Black men in particular. There were moments in my life in which those things were reality. If folks are familiar, like, suicidal ideations can shift from active to, like, I have a plan and I am going to do this, to passive, where it may be a fleeting thought, but there is not any strategy or tactic to actually carry it out. Those things vacillate from time to time, and there were two things that I really needed. The first was, well, actually three things. The first thing was a shifting of language, right? A lot of us understand suicide as, if somebody died by suicide, we say they committed suicide. And actually shifting the language to say, this person died by suicide, right? They're not here anymore. And when we think of something being committed, we think of somebody committing a crime, which continues the stigmatization of suicide ideations as this person did something wrong. When in actuality, there's so many things leading up to that moment that we may not know, we may not see the flags, but also understanding that we have so many resources at our disposal. I would definitely recommend folks take a mental health first aid class, so folks can get more of an understanding as to how to spot the warning signs, and also to how to have conversations. And it took somebody to literally ask me, hey, are you thinking about harming yourself, or are you thinking about ending your life? In that very direct language. And one thing that taught me was, sometimes we're afraid to have that conversation because we think it's us that will push that person over the edge. When in actuality, sometimes we need to have that direct conversation in those very explicit words so we can start to build those bridges, have those resources. And also, the last thing I'll say is, it took somebody Black, first and foremost, to say, this is not an indictment on your character, it's not an indictment on your resilience, it's not an indictment on your Blackness or your masculinity. It sounds like you are really going through something hard, and I'd like to help you. And for a long time, a lot of folks who meant well who I love dearly, were responding to me around the conversation of suicide of, that's selfish. Like, how dare you do something like that? What are we supposed to do if you go? And again, understanding their intention was to see me stay, but I literally just told you, hey, I really have these scary thoughts. And the first thing that came out of your mouth was, what about me? Right? And understanding how crappy that made me feel in that time. So those three things are just things I would say around having those direct conversations and gaining support and resources, because just like you said, fam, we don't do that well as people, not just as Black people, but we as a community, especially in the West, don't have conversations around death, around grief, around supporting folks dealing with grief in a particularly compassionate way. And we need support. And we need support to have those conversations so we can lend support to others.
Yeah. Also, so can I ask a few questions to the crowd real quick? Raise your hand if you have gotten a physical checkup this year.
I know what questions you're going to ask, and I was going to answer too.
Raise your hand if you've gone to the dentist this year. Ladies, raise your hands if you have been to your OB. I would ask fellas, raise your hand if you have been to your urologist. I don't even know the name. I have. Yes, I have. Now raise your hand if you have gotten a mental health checkup this year. There has been a decrease in hands being raised. So the same way that we check on our physical health, we check on our teeth, we check on our eyes, most of us have gone to the gym this year. Why are we not making it a priority that we also get a mental health checkup? See how we're doing mentally. See where do we rank. Relationship-wise as well. Have you gotten a relationship checkup this year? Those that are in a relationship. Okay. So, in honor of BlackMenCryToo, can I have the ones that didn't do it this year yet to prioritize doing this in the next 4 weeks? Yes?
Yeah.
I
Excellent.
like this at church. Is it a yes? Is it a no? Like, so Magda, let me ask you, with being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and think about those topics that you were saying makes people uncomfortable. This is the profession you decided to go after, and this is the profession as a Black man that you decided to stay in. And then on top of it, be like, I'm also going to do work in relationships. What was that moment for you when you were like, I don't even care anymore, I don't care about the stigma, like I'm going to go for it because I want to be a part of change, I no longer want to be compliant?
That's a great question. And it started with me. I was dating who's not my wife. We've been together for 10 years now. And I was the worst boyfriend of all time. I was an F-boy. I thought I knew everything. I thought it was her honor to be with me. I couldn't communicate. You know what I'm saying? Every time we had a fight, I'm like, yo, come on, man. How many men are out here? But the reality is, I didn't know how to make my relationship work. So I went around. I went to the older folks. They couldn't help me with nothing. They're like, yo, bro, you young, keep dating, do your thing, it's no worries. I went to my friends. They were more lost than I am. Right, so I was looking for the answers and I couldn't find them. So I told myself, I'm going to go find the answers, and then I'm going to start giving the answers to my own people. Because one of the best ways that we can change the outcome of the Black neighborhood and community is by establishing healthy relationships. Black women are the less likely to get married and the most likely to get divorced. Like, that stat don't even make sense to me.
Now, hold on. This is a stat. This isn't no Kevin Samuels bullshit. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Don't nobody scrunch your face up, okay? Stats. It's the stats.
Like, we really have the highest rate of divorce. And 70% of Black children are being raised in single household. But in reality, if the father is not present, they're 5 times more likely to have a mental health issue, 3 times more likely to end up in jail. But if you're raised in a 2-parent household, you are more likely to have a successful life. And now, if we're thinking on the macro level, strategically speaking, the Black man has been removed from the home purposely, right? From Jim Crow, through slavery, through police brutality, and all of that. So they're taking us out of our home to ensure that the next generation cannot do well. So with that knowledge, I told myself I'm gonna focus on strengthening Black relationship and Black marriages so that these children can be raised in two-parent household and they can continue the healing and promote the Black mental health and wellness and Black wealth in general, so we no longer have to deal with the nonsense that we've dealt with for centuries.
Thank you, King. I hate saying stuff like that, but thank you, King. Josh?
So, what you gonna ask?
No, so if you have something to say, I was going to ask a question. I was like,
So I have a bit of an unpopular opinion, and it's I'll let it sit and see how it lands. I believe I'm not for anybody, any parent being removed from the household, and I'm not for children being used as bargaining chips if a relationship goes sour by either parent. I'm also not a belief in Black male influence for the sake of Black male influence. And when I say that, I mean, so, like, just as people, like, some parents are just toxic parents, right? And I don't believe that, I should be subjecting a child to a toxic influence just because this person is biologically theirs, right? If I have a serious concern about not even just like their physical safety, but their emotional safety and their mental safety, then my responsibility as that parent is to make sure I guard my children from them. When you do the work, right, and again, I also want to say this, but I don't have children. At least my own children. I do have community children that I help to raise and pour into. And with that said, I don't necessarily believe in this person should be here if they are not going to be constructive and productive to their health and well-being. If you are doing the work, and when you're doing the work, and when you prove that you can be a positive influence in this child's life, then we can have a conversation. But I'm just more so speaking of, look, until you are doing this work and until you start doing the things you need to do, then we need to start having conversations about boundaries of access and supervision and all those different things. But that sometimes lands differently because that's somehow like destroying the Black family. And I don't think that that's what that intentionally means.
The question I was going to ask to follow up from Mac was around healing. And now your brand is Healing While Black. However, we've noticed when it comes to mental health how it's now a trend. And as a trend of mental health, it comes into self-care and what exactly is mental health. And now everyone knows new words and they just want to throw them out all the time and they don't understand what the words actually mean and they just using it because it sounds cool. When it comes to that, like, how do you actually influence and encourage people and help them understand that healing isn't just y'all, this is my healing season, okay? I'm gonna heal this season and this is it. I learned, I'm done. It's a continuous thing. Like, you'll be doing this work forever. Like, the most beautiful thing I've been reflective on with me and my mother's relationship is the fact that I got to tell her to her face as a 60-plus-year-old woman who sat down and did therapy with me individually as well as a family, thank you for this. This is not what you believe in. This is not what your culture believes in. There's no one on your island that will do this. And your love for me, this was what I put on the table. Like, this is what I need for our relationship. And you said yes, and you did it. So that's something at 60 years old. She did something she probably never thought she would do. That's something you're still evolving. Yeah. That's my mom.
Shout out to moms, too.
Facts.
Real.
Sorry, but yes, Josh, how do you?
Yeah. So two things. I don't believe in making healing my identity. Like, healing is not a personality trait. And
That's fire.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
Can I post that real quick?
It's like, just to your point, right? We're so caught up in, and again, I'm glad that we have more accessibility in regards to things that were very insular, not 10 years ago. But like, I had to really unfollow a lot of my therapists and my psychologist homies because I don't want to see this shit all the time. I'm starting to think that I'm like a project, not a person. I get the chance to be human. I get a chance to make mistakes and apply these lessons. and just be. I don't need to focus on healing today. And I remember, and the second thing I'll say is, there's a difference between healing and just trauma dumping. And I remember, Mac, do you remember that?
Hold on.
Because then we're going to talk about...
Can I post that? That's my phone.
Then you got to talk about love bombing because you said something earlier.
I know where you about to go. I was right there with you. I was like, what bullshit is happening right now?
So, let's just confidentiality purposes only. Mac and I were on a panel about a year ago, and it went left real fast. And I'm thankful. Again, I'm not a clinician, so just also wanted to make that clear. I'm very thankful Mac was there because we really started going into some very heavy, triggering topics very quickly with no grounding. And when you go up like that, you have to come back down. You can't just send people out like that and just have their nervous system all out of whack. And there was no guidance. There was no parameter. We just went up and we were up, and then we were trying to figure out, like, how do we get here? And
I was like, yo, what's happening?
What's happening?
Josh was like, bro, what's going on? I'm like, yo, what the hell? And that was being done by a non-therapist as well.
Right. So,
and when we pushed back against that, sorry, they were like, no, like, we don't want you to be a therapist right now. I'm like, but that's what I do. And right now, you're about to cause so much trauma for no reason. Just because you want to go viral, you're asking people about their deepest, darkest secrets in this space, and you don't have the skills nor knowledge to even cater to that.
And in a lot of folks, and again, in a lot of folks' minds, that's what healing looks like. It's revealing your deepest, darkest traumas to a broad audience. And that's a lot, right? It would be one thing if this was Kat and I's first conversation and then we had a conversation about suicidal ideation, but it's not, right? We have a rapport. But, if you just, off the bat, this is my first time meeting you 30 minutes ago, and you ask me, like, so tell me about the time you tried to kill yourself. Like, yo, that's a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we forget sometimes that healing also happens in relationship and community, and you have to have that community level of trust. Like, I know Mac, I know Kat, and we also talk about other things besides this. We just talk about, hey, what you doing this weekend, right? And don't talk about work at all. And also really realizing that healing looks like not delving into trauma and deep, dark traumas all the time. Not dark, but deep traumas all the time, and really having to reframe that conversation as well.
Yes. And also, one of my pet peeves has become the use of clinical terms in everyday language. Just because you're sad today doesn't mean that you're depressed. Do you hear that word depression? When you say I'm depressed, you automatically feel heavy. You automatically feel sluggish. You automatically feel the weight of that. So we need to be very careful in the semantics that we use, right? Because a lot of times we're using these labels, but not really understanding the impact that it has on us. Not everybody's a narcissist, believe it or not, right? 80% of males present with narcissistic tendencies.
Boom. Wait for it. I was being cute for a second, like you better say it.
There's also female narcissists.
Yeah, but what's the percentage? Just lower than men. Okay, continue going.
There's nuance.
Exactly. So again, like, let's refrain from using these clinical terms in everyday language. When we're feeling some type of way, let's have a licensed therapist to diagnose it, to label it, as opposed to allowing Google or social media to tell us exactly what we are suffering from.
Can I add something?
Of course.
I have a friend who is clinically diagnosed with depression, and having conversations with her, she's told me that it frustrates her when people use depression and things like that, because she's like, yo, I'm really actually going through this. Mm-hmm. So I think when people say that, they have to realize that they're also being insensitive to the people who are actually genuinely going through these things. Like, you really need to take into account, like, it's not just something that a word that you could just play around with. It's not something you should just be throwing out there. This is genuinely, people are really going through shit, and you have to be conscious of that, because you're just saying it as a joke or for attention or to, you know, to get, you know, some type of, like I said, attention, but there's people who's really going through that, so you really have to be conscious of what you say and how you say things, because it could very well trigger the person right next to you. You never know that.
Amen. Amen.
That's my baby mama, y'all. But with that, I think it also goes back to the whole getting comfortable being uncomfortable and learning like your boundaries and what do those boundaries mean and standing firm on them. Because I think a lot of times when I had asked Mac, and I didn't get a chance to ask you as well, when it comes to change and compliancy, like so long we can just sit with like this person always gonna say something or trigger me because I'm not putting my foot down or making actions to be like, you know what, for my peace, I need this to change. And you need to respect that for me to still be present. If not, I'm going to have to remove myself. And at what moment did you realize that you wanted to be a part of change and you no longer wanted to be compliant anymore?
That was a deep ass question. Right? Like, do you have those right now somewhere? Like, you couldn't send it like an hour.
I'm really thinking about it. Y'all said some really stuff.
That's true. It got to the point. I knew something had to change when I was starting to dread hanging out with folks I cared about, and I was like, why is my nervous system activated? Why am I like having all of these adverse reactions to folks who I know I love and I know who love me? And you know, I saw this quote that said, "Boundaries are the way I can love you and love me at the same time." And
Can we just write our whole social media content down?
When are you dropping your book?
No worries. But it's real. Like I want to be in community with you, and I also do not want to have all conversations devolve into a shouting match. I don't want to leave feeling frustrated. I don't want to get to the point where I don't pick up the phone. I don't want to get to that point. So, and also even to that point, I have to communicate this because I also realize it's not fair to them. I'm going off on them on things they didn't know. I can't hold people's expectations they didn't know. And that's where like that relationship came into effect. Without the significance of the relationship came into effect was some folks are like, bro, I just didn't know that. Had you told me, I would have shifted my behavior and it would have been good, but you didn't tell me, or you said something passive aggressively or indirectly and I couldn't pick up on it. But had you told me this from the jump, I would have stopped. And I had to sit with myself and said, oh damn, like I didn't say, you're right, I didn't say that. I didn't say that directly, and I'm upset with this person based off information they didn't have. So having that conversation, those difficult conversations, is really pivotal to the health of a relationship.
Yes. And for me, just to add to what you just said, I started noticing that the conversation around me started shifting whenever I was present. In the gym locker room, it's no longer about, yo, did you see that ass? Right? Recently, I went to the barbershop. I walked in, I was like, yo, the therapist is here. Yo, Mac, how can I win my bitch back? Yo, Mac, I messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just around me, like, these conversations are changing. Like, men are saying, yo, I actually need a therapist. Who can you refer me to? Like, in the gym now, like, dudes are walking up to me, yo, I actually went to therapy. Like, I'm actually doing better. I rebuilt my relationship with my parents. Like, we're having these convo because it's normalized now. Like, it's okay. And when I ask someone, hey, how's your mental health? Because I don't ask, how are you, right? Because we're going to get a generic answer, like, how's your mental health, right? And at times, like, I'm okay with sitting down with you, and we're going to talk about it, we're going to make sense of it. And a lot of times, like, I'm not trying to be nobody's therapist, but I got the referrals. I'll give you that real quick.
There's a dope one sitting in this room. I'm not going to point her out, but, you know, she know who she is.
You know what I'm saying? Hi, Nye.
I ain't do it. See, I ain't do it. But the next question I did want to ask is, how do you keep consistency with that? Because that's a heavy mindset, and that's a lot of mental exercise you have to do. So what are some resources, tools, practices that you guys have for that consistent mindset? Whoever.
My boundaries are very clear and they're very solid.
Mm.
And if I falter, my wife will let me know.
Amen.
I will not take a client that I'm not interested in working with. I have a max limit of how many clients I'm willing to see. I don't work from Fridays to Sundays. It's non-negotiable, right? And again, if I want to work with people of color, like I can't always be a therapist. I have the time where I'm on, and when I'm off, I'm off. Like if a friend called me after hours, yo, Mag, blah, blah, blah. Oh, wow, that's crazy.
No, that's
Oh.
crazy.
Damn, bro. And it's gonna stay that. If you need a therapist, I can refer you. And also, don't invite me to lunch and lunch turns into a therapy session. I'm here to eat. Right? No, we are not doing that.
No, I will echo and highlight everything that Max said. Well, the word that resonated for me was non-negotiable, right? And most of my boundaries are non-negotiable, but if they are going to be negotiated, I will introduce the negotiation. Like, I will relax them as I see fit, with whom I see fit, when I see fit. That's not,
that
you know,
one. Yeah, you gotta snap that one.
Like, do you rap? Do you write poems? Like, we're in the car just writing bars is not why you came late?
No.
Damn. Get him, Josh. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Black Excellence.
Just to ask you guys, do you all know your non-negotiables?
Working on it.
Working on it, it's cool.
I like that. Work in progress always.
Could you share yours?
Please.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. You said it's time. I wasn't looking.
Well, I do have one question for you that I think the both of us in the audience would like to know.
I don't think nobody will know.
When did you become you?
Yes. Yes.
Baby, I always been me. What you mean?
Yes.
When did Retro Barbie became Retro Barbie?
How many people in here went to college with me? Okay, so I get to lie a little bit. I honestly would say she started developing in college, and it was due to the fact that I got to leave New York. And it did play a major impact because this was a whole new playground. No one knows who I am. What? I can be whoever I want to be. I can dress up as Nicki Minaj one Halloween and go down South Street, which I did, and be, mistaken for her sometimes on the bus. Yeah, that was the thing that I did. It was a fun time in life. Whatever, judge me for it. I don't care. Whatever. But that was the time that I got to play with actual, authenticity and going to a design school, going to a creative school. It was literally a playground, and it was a PWI, so, we had to make do with what we had to make do. So, of course, we got extra creative being down there. And then coming back to New York, it was, I want this life for me. So how am I going to get to this life? And unfortunately, it also made me depressed because my expectation of how I was going to get there and when I was going to get there was not my reality. And I suffered through it. And then I was in a certain relationship that didn't pan out the best, and people that were around and have been supportive through it. I'm very blessed, and I don't take them for granted because I was not my prettiest self. I was probably the ugliest I've ever been in life. And I had to sit and reflect and grow from that as well. And all of that helped create who Retro Barbie is, because yes, I can, and most of y'all will probably know, be that girl that's gonna twerk and pour shots. Of course, come on, let's turn up. We're still living. This is life. We're still living. We're here. Let's enjoy the moments that we can, because some people we love are no longer here. And I've been living that way since 14.
Wow. So what I heard is that you started being authentic. You lived in authenticity, and you stopped seeking others' acceptance of who you are.
That took a while, and I'm still working through that.
I think we all are to some degree. Which leads me to a question to the crowd. When did you stop seeking acceptance and validation from others?
It don't stop. Work in progress. I'm going to say it don't stop.
does it sound? Who are you seeking it from?
My child.
I think your child accepts you for who you are.
Well, when she gets older and stuff, like you know, there's just a certain expectation that you want to fulfill for your child.
I have an answer for you. I know for myself, it was when I started to accept myself, knowing that I am different. Growing up throughout childhood, high school, even some in college, I was trying to find that box to fit into the shadows. But once I figured out and realized that I am unique, I am my own person, I am my own being, that's when I didn't really care how others saw me.
That's my best friend, y'all.
How you doing?
Yes, that's friend.
I want to say like 8 years ago. Back in college, it was like me kind of like messing with it, kind of like how Kat said. I became a DJ. I started to do a lot of different things, but you know, I always had this passion for art from a kid that I stopped drawing at like middle school to kind of fit in, but then there was always this urge to do my own thing. And I remember at the time I was in a relationship with someone and I told them I'm going to be an artist. Like that's just going to be my life. And they said, you're not going to make it, so what's the point? And we lived together, and I remember she told me that, and I moved out the next day when she was going to work.
Boundary.
And for me, the main thing was I just wanted to live in something that's beyond me when I'm here.
Yes.
As an artist, no matter what I do, my artwork lives beyond me. My artwork don't really get to see the work until I'm just not here. And that's any artist. Any artist, no matter what their name is, they don't get to see their work. It's just you do it and it impacts the future.
Legacy.
So, yeah, and for me, it was just like I just wanted to do that and be happy.
He's my artist, y'all.
Anybody else?
For me, it's when I started therapy, actually. Like, my therapist brought it up. She was like, you're seeking validation from others, and why? And so that got me thinking, like, why? Yeah, why do I do that? Why is that my dynamic with others and people? And so that really just opened up my eyes to, like, me, basically. And then just seeing my own greatness and how I am amazing, and I know that I am, and just like, I don't need it, because I am it.
I think, therefore I am.
Sure.
Anybody else?
You're not going to answer the question for yourself?
Me?
Yes, you.
Hold on. I can't tell what that is.
Big.
That's my little big brother, y'all.
I think for me, it's when everybody's different, but when I started to realize what was important to me, and so I stopped looking for the validation, not only from my peers, but like sometimes from my parents. So like I didn't have the best relationship with my father, and so like from there, becoming expressive was very hard for me. So I put up like this armor of just like confidence of like, you know what, I'm just gonna carve out my own spaces, and whatever spaces I occupy, someone has to come and take that space and disrupt that space. And so for me, once I was able to establish who I was as a person, my identity, and again trying to be unique and understanding the things that I wanted to do, I was able to become more communicative, become more expressive, and then those relationships started building naturally. Beautiful.
For me, it happened with my wife. Because in order to build that relationship, I needed to do a lot of unconditioning that society has conditioned me to be, like being a young black man, making horrible financial decisions because that's what I was supposed to do. Shout out to my infinity though. So once I realized that she loved me for who I am and not for who I pretend to be or what I had, that gave me the comfort, the confidence, and the safety to deconstruct myself and then construct myself to be the person that I wanted to be, but also to be the best husband that I could ever be. Black men don't cheat.
Alright. Hashtag BlackMenCryToo. Relax, baby. Relax. A little bit. The future album will drop. You know, I probably listen to it. As we are coming up short on time, I did want to open up if anyone had any general questions or any last questions before we wrap up. Or any last words anyone would like to share. No?
I know y'all got questions.
I know. They being shy and scary. That's cute.
I charge a lot for my sessions. I'm actually available now. Make use of us. Yes, sir.
How do you... It's going to be for both of y'all. But then I also want to...
No, we're good.
Want to see you...
My mic died.
Have you ever felt imposter syndrome? And how do you deal with
Calling
that?
me out like that, man.
It's for everyone. It's for everyone.
Over.
I need some time, go ahead.
The answer is yes. The answer is a lot, you know, about once a week, you know. You know, case in point, I'm not actively on the job market, but, you know, just looking, seeing what's there, seeing what's out there. And, you know, I got a call from someone who said, hey, I saw your resume through LinkedIn with the Whoop, and I think that you would be really great for this position. And they're telling me all of the qualifications, the salary. It's nice too. It's nice. Got some zeros behind it. It's nice. And you know the title and all these different things. It's like so who am I reporting to? You know, you're not going to be reporting to anybody if you have this. So who's my team? It's like, oh no, you was working by yourself. And I'm like, word? And it's like, oh, I haven't. And then it's just immediately, it's like, oh, this ain't for me. You know, I don't have enough experience. You know, I don't know how to project manage. I don't know this terminology. You know, all these different things. And then having to remind myself, like, Josh, this person recalled you. You didn't call him, right? So clearly, whatever body of work you have out there, which is substantial, is enough for you to be put in these conversations that this person is considering you for this role. And having to remind myself of like the work that I've done that qualifies me for conversations like this. Not to say again, there'll be a great position. I'm thankful that I like the work that I do and I'm comfortable. And reminding myself that whenever I do have those days, there are moments that come up like this that just serve as that friendly reminder of like, not only are you doing good work, but people see the good work that you do. And this person does not know you, and they have no reason to lie to you. They have no reason to gas your ego up. In fact, in actuality, they don't have a reason to because they're trying to get paid off your commission. So reminding that, and then just to tie back to the external point before I pass it off to y'all, again, a little bit of my popular opinion, I think a little bit of external validation is nice, right?
Damn right.
A little bit, you know. Little bit, you know, a little bit.
You
right?
top tier, man.
You know what I mean? You top tier, man. Listen, we can get. I'm trying to get like you battle here.
Okay, we don't got all day.
I want that beard. I've been trying to get that beard for years, man.
I seen them red bottom shoes ago. Sorry. But the point I'm trying to make is like, yo, like it feels good to have your peers and the folks whose opinions you respect acknowledge the work that you do because it's hard, right? It's hard as hell. Like the first thing that we talked about when we saw each other, like, yo, I'm proud of you. Yo, I'm proud of the work y'all doing because I see it. It feels good to acknowledge the things that we do because we did a lot of work that nobody saw that went into this, and it does not supersede my internal validation, but it's nice. You know, I don't think it's a bad thing to get a little bit of external validation every now and again.
If you ever need any, call me. I'll tell you how amazing you are.
Yeah, I will.
For me, November 12, 2020, I've been invited to be part of a platform to kind of talk and write some articles for it, etc. And it was not my crowd, right? And I never did it. Like, I kept on just giving myself excuses as, I'll try next year, or I'll try next week, or etc. Then my mentor came to me, he's like, who? Imposter syndrome at its finest. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you take space wherever you go. But for some reason, for this platform, you are shrinking yourself. I got up and started jumping around like oh shit, you gonna call me out like that? 2 weeks later, I went on that platform. I put on my best suit. You know what I'm saying? Got on the best cologne I could find. My wife braided my hair. I wore all black. Sat on that couch and I spread my legs and my arm and I killed it. But again, but prior to that, like it was me doing the work. Like I went to talk to my mom, like, yo, I'm experiencing imposter syndrome, right? And she spoke life into me. She reminded me how dope I was, how I've done this a million times, right? So it was about that external validation and reminding myself I'm a bad motherfucker.
Goddamn right.
Great question, man.
I have a question. What are you both hoping that your legacy and your work and the way that you contribute to the culture, what are you hoping that gives other people permission to do?
Hey, y'all said my questions was hard. That's
My goal is to decrease the divorce rate among black families. It's that simple. At the end of the day, I want healthier relationships. I want happy black couples. I want happy communities of color. And I want our next generation to be better off than where we were. I have 2 kids, 2 under 2. Highly ghetto, do not recommend. I don't know. The pandemic happened. Okay? I saw everything on Netflix. HBO Max, Disney Plus. I was downloading them every day. Highly do not recommend, highly ghetto. But yeah, one day, eventually, I want to say that I've helped this amount of couples. They're happy, they have budding relationships and marriages, and they're doing excellent. That's my goal in life.
Thank you for that question. That was an amazing question. If a young black queer kid can find whatever things that we've left behind and know that, yeah, like, my queerness does not detract from my blackness and vice versa, then I've done my job. That's really all I want. I just want to make sure that, you know, black, queer, trans, non-conforming kids are okay. That they know that they have what they need, that there are people that came before them who were black as hell, who were queer as hell, who did not shrink themselves to move into whatever space that they saw they came as they were. And if I can just contribute to that, that's the life we'll live.
Excellent. Yeah.
What's up?
Hey, Fran.
The same question.
I think about legacy a lot, and I'm still framing what I want my legacy to be. I've been thinking about legacy since Nipsey passed, and then soon after my mother unfortunately passed, I've been thinking about legacy with that as well. And I think about her legacy, and I think about her impact, and the amount of people that reached out to me with a story, and it was a story about a feeling and a memory that they held on to that helped them grow. And when I think about my personal legacy, that's what I want. I want whatever interaction you had with me, whether it be good or bad, it helped you grow in a sense to be like a better version of you. So that's my personal legacy when it comes to like, what do I want my professional legacy to look like? I want to be able for our culture to be unapologetically black as fuck and take up spaces and these opportunities that we are so rightfully deserving, where we no longer have to have imposter syndrome. Like I had it on the way here, and one of the very many thank yous I wanted to give tonight is a beautiful girl that's living in Harlem named Dom, who's sitting here. And the fact that I even was blessed with this opportunity due to Dom, and Dom also got me my last job when I got laid off during the pandemic. And one of her missions is to always help another black girl get on. So she's doing the work and then she's paying it back. Like, I want that to be a part of my legacy as well. Like, this is my tribe. Like, y'all are my tribe. Y'all are my community. We're not compliant people. We're change agents. So that's what I want my legacy to be, a network of change agents.
Would anybody else who would like to share their legacy and what they would like that to be? Yes, sir. Never settle.
Yeah, I feel like I'm always talking. But as an artist, like currently I'm working in schools, so I'm working with middle schoolers. Like I work with a nonprofit, and we're doing murals in a lot of different schools and getting the kids to paint, and getting them to see. And a lot of these kids haven't been told what they can do. They haven't been told that they're able to do stuff. So for me, my legacy is like just to let any kid know, like I don't care what you want to do, you can do it. No one can stop you but you. The only reason why it took me so long to become an artist because I told myself I didn't want to do it. But I want a 13-year-old. I have a 13-year-old right now. He can almost draw as good as I can. And he was just like, I don't know if I want to do art. I'm like, you do that, you'll be better than I ever could be. And I'm going to tell that. And I think the best thing is to feed the youth and let other people see that it's all attainable. You know, all this stuff, material stuff, all this stuff, it don't mean nothing as much as it is in what you give to yourself at the end of the day, what you believe in yourself. And I just want people to see that you could go to whatever extent, go to any part of this world and achieve whatever you want to.
Amazing.
We can only take one or two more, and then we do have to wrap it up. So, anybody else would like to share what they want their legacy to be? Yes, sir.
So, my legacy, what I want people to know is that everyone has a place in this world. I'm a massage therapist, and people come to me, and I feel like that's very vulnerable because they express to me, you know, their pains, physical pains, but what I see is emotional storage in these physical pains.
Get a little tighter.
And so every session for me is really special because this is someone who's coming to me with, again, a physical pain, but I kind of see more than that. And we work through it. And so every session becomes, for me, a meditation. And I literally feel things dissipate into the air, into space, and it's gone. For that moment, at least. And I think that's beautiful to me. And so people, when they come, you know, they're kind of like, oh, this hurts, blah, blah, blah. When they get up, they're like smiling, and I feel their aura like just radiating. And I'm so happy to have been like a part of that. And I'm so happy that they're gonna leave the room, open that door, and live their best life, at least for that day. And so, everyone has a place in this world, no matter what you've done, no matter what you've not done, you belong and you are loved.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so with this, I'm going to actually wrap it up. And the way that we wrap it up, this has been another episode of, oh no, this has been the first live show.
Can we get you to stand up for 1 second? So take a bow for all the work that you have done. We're not asking, we're telling you. Please.
Okay, so since I'm standing, I'll do my thank you standing. First and foremost, thank you, Josh, for coming all the way from frickin' Philly, y'all. Just to be here and sit with us. I am such a fan of your work. I am so blessed that our paths have crossed. I'm actually going to sit because it's a little awkward. I was like, oh, this tall thing. I like being short. I didn't like it up there. I'm so happy our paths crossed. I'm so blessed and honored to know that you're a change agent in my tribe. And you know we got you however you need.
Absolutely.
Please let the people know how they can support you and follow you.
Yes. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram at HealingWhileBlack, all one word. You can log on to healingwhileblack.me, like me, myself, and I. And I'm on Twitter, HealingWhileBlack, but the black is spelled BLK.
We're going to get it back. Now, Mac, I want to thank you for being here and being my first ever client.
Thank you.
For those that know, me and Mac have been working together for over a year now. Mac, you do tremendous work for the culture. I'm so blessed to have you in my life, one, as a client, and two, to be able to call you a client friend. That's very hard, and that's a little line that we balance pretty well. We're navigating that space well. But I am appreciative of the fact of how you do stand up, and both of you are an example of protect Black women and the way that you love on Black families. So I am appreciative of you. Please let the people know where they can follow you and support you.
You could find me on Instagram as talk2mac_therapist, talk TALK, the number 2 Mac, MAC _therapist. And now, since we're in community, I have a ask? Oh, I'm sorry, my
fault. Next, who I want to thank, I already thanked Dom, but I do want to thank Dom one more time, and y'all can follow Dom in the city, one of the dopest, blackest food bloggers out here, okay? And then I want to thank all of you guys. When you talk about everyone has a place in the world, you guys have the opportunity to control what place you'd like to be in the world, and tonight you decided that this is the place that you wanted to be. And you shared this space with me, and you shared this space around having a healthy conversation around mental health. And as you can see, we can have heavy conversations, and then we can still laugh in the same breath. And that was one of the purposes of having this show and having this platform, to show that we can get deep, we can have these conversations, and they are very uncomfortable, but we can be, and we can start becoming comfortable having them to have like a healthier life and a happier life. So I want to thank all of you for being present with me and being supportive. So a round of applause for y'all. Thank you. And my last very special thank you is to my third parent in the room.